Before the story begins, take a moment to ask yourself, what happens when the person holding everyone together finally lets go? Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but because they finally realize their worth. This is the story of Natalie Cross and the Thanksgiving dinner that changed everything. For years, I believed family meant sacrifice. Not the healthy kind, the endless kind. The kind where you quietly carry everyone's burdens because you love them. My name is Natalie Cross, and for most of my adult life, I was the person everyone depended on. The fixer, the helper, the one who never said no. If a bill needed paying, I handled it. If someone fell behind, I stepped in. If there was a crisis, somehow it landed on my shoulders. And for a long time, I convinced myself that was what family was supposed to do. Then Thanksgiving happened. The table was full, turkey in the center, candles glowing, the usual family performance. My father sat at the head of the table, telling stories. My mother nodded along. My brother laughed confidently, as though life had always opened doors for him. I listened quietly. Then the conversation shifted. Someone mentioned finances. Someone else joked about responsibility. And suddenly my father looked directly at me. Paying bills doesn't make you family. The room went silent. My mother leaned closer and added softly, "You're just jealous of your brother." Jealous. The word hung in the air. For a moment, I simply stared at them. Then I smiled, calmly, steadily, and I said, "Then let him pay the $9,600. Nobody spoke. My brother's expression changed instantly. My father's confidence disappeared. Forks froze halfway to mouths. The truth had entered the room, and everyone felt it. I finished dinner quietly. No argument, no dramatic exit, no tears. I simply stood, thanked my aunt for the meal, and left. That night, I sat alone at my kitchen table. For years, I had covered expenses no one talked about. House payments, utility bills, unexpected emergencies, financial commitments made under my name and backed by my credit. Every month, I carried responsibilities that weren't really mine, and every month I told myself it was temporary. That family would appreciate it someday. But appreciation never came. Only expectations. So that night, I made a decision. Not to punish anyone, not to teach a lesson, simply to stop carrying what never belonged to me. One by one, I removed myself from obligations I had taken on years earlier. I updated accounts, canceled automatic transfers, closed financial arrangements tied to my name. Everything was done legally. Everything was done respectfully. And for the first time in years, I felt something unexpected. Relief. The next morning, my phone started ringing. Calls, messages, voicemails, questions, confusion, concern. For years, I had quietly supported everyone behind the scenes. Most people never realized how much. Now they were finding out. My mother called first. "Natalie, what's going on?" I took a deep breath. I've decided to focus on my own future. Silence, then came disappointment, then frustration, then guilt, the familiar cycle. But this time, I didn't step back into my old role, because something had changed. For the first time, I understood that helping people and carrying people are not the same thing. One comes from love, the other comes from obligation, and I was tired of living inside obligation. Over the following weeks, conversations spread through the family. Relatives began asking questions, stories started surfacing. People realized I had been contributing far more than anyone knew. Many were surprised, a few apologized, some stayed silent. But the most important change wasn't happening around me, it was happening inside me. For years, I had measured my value by what I could provide: money, time, solutions, support. I thought being needed meant being loved. But they're not the same thing. Being needed creates dependence. Being loved creates connection. And I wanted connection, not dependence. As the months passed, life became quieter. Not easier, just clearer. I started investing in myself. I took classes I had postponed, traveled to places I had always wanted to visit, built friendships that weren't based on what I could give. I learned how peaceful life feels when every conversation isn't attached to an obligation. Then something unexpected happened. People began showing up differently, not because I was helping them, because they genuinely cared. Neighbors checked in, friends invited me to dinner, coworkers became family, not through blood, through choice. That realization changed everything. 1 year later, Thanksgiving arrived again. This time, I wasn't sitting at the same table. Instead, I rented a small community hall. Nothing extravagant. Simple decorations, homemade food, folding tables, warm lights. People from every chapter of my life came. Friends, mentors, neighbors, colleagues. People who had supported me simply because they wanted to. As everyone settled into their seats, laughter filled the room. No tension, no competition, no scorekeeping, just gratitude. When it came time for a toast, I stood. The room quieted. I looked around at the faces smiling back at me, faces that represented something I once thought was impossible: belonging. For a moment, emotion caught in my throat. Then I raised my glass. For years, I began, I thought family was something you earned by carrying everyone else's weight. The room listened. I thought love meant proving yourself over and over again. I smiled. But life taught me something different. People nodded. I continued. Family isn't the people who take from you because they can. Family is the people who stand beside you because they choose to. The room erupted into applause. Not loud, not dramatic, just genuine. The kind of applause that comes from people who understand. And in that moment, I realized something. The greatest victory wasn't proving anyone wrong. It wasn't watching other people face consequences. It wasn't being recognized for what I had done. The greatest victory was finally recognizing my own value. Not because of what I gave, not because of what I paid, not because of what I sacrificed, but because of who I was. For years, I carried a story that wasn't mine, a story that said my worth depended on usefulness. That story ended the day I stopped believing it. As the evening continued, laughter echoed through the hall. People shared memories, children played games, friends helped clean up afterward without being asked. No one kept score, no one demanded repayment, no one treated kindness like a transaction. And for the first time in my life, I understood what home truly felt like. It wasn't a house. It wasn't a family name. It wasn't an obligation. Home was peace. Home was respect. Home was being seen. As I locked the doors that night and stepped into the cool autumn air, I looked up at the stars. A year earlier, I had walked away from a table where I was told I wasn't enough. Now, I was walking away from a room filled with people who reminded me that I always was. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't hold everything together. Sometimes it's setting it down and discovering that your life was never meant to be carried by guilt. It was meant to be built on love. And that is exactly what I finally did.